First at 9. This is Other Derana 24/7.
Maitri Gunaratna removed as chairman of Lanka Coal. Lottery prize to remain at 20 rupees. At last, Pfizer gets the much-awaited report. And PM meets Joseph Stiglitz. Good evening. Welcome to Other Derana 24/7. I'm Harshni Ranasinghe. The board of directors of Lanka Coal Company, including chairman Maitri Gunaratna, has been removed with immediate effect. The Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy confirmed this to Other Derana. The removal has been made by the Minister of Power and Renewable Energy, Ranjith Siambalapitiya, with the dissolution of the entire board of directors of Lanka Coal Company. Speaking to Other Derana, Maitri Gunaratna confirmed to us that he was removed by the minister. Gunaratna's removal comes following some adverse comments he made against the government, especially levelling allegations against the government's coal tenders. Lakshmanya Abeyewardena, State Minister of Finance, states President Maithripala Sirisena has instructed to maintain the price of a lottery ticket at 20 rupees.
Price increase of lottery tickets issued by the National Lotteries Board and Development Lotteries Board was effective from January 1st. In protest, the All Island Lottery Agents Association organised mass protests across several cities in the country and a 3-day strike action. Discussions held yesterday between the two lotteries boards and lottery sales agents concluded indecisively.
According to the annual report issued by the Finance Ministry, National Lotteries Board and Development Lotteries Board earn 28% of non-tax revenues for the government. So in 2014, the Development Lotteries Board has earned 2 billion rupees only for the President's Fund. When the price of a lottery ticket increased from 20 rupees to 30 rupees, the 2 rupees and 50 cent commission was increased to 3 rupees. However, it results in lower sales of lottery tickets and sales agents were concerned about it. After considering all of these things, the President decided to keep the price of a lottery at 20 rupees.
The lottery sales agents met with the State Minister after the press briefing.
We were able to come to a positive solution today. We will be starting our work from tomorrow with much faith in the President who took the initiative to solve this matter.
President Maithripala Sirisena says that in national reconciliation, it is pivotal to maintain the identity of all communities while protecting their freedom. The President said this addressing the opening ceremony of a new Muslim cultural centre in Colombo today.
When moving towards national reconciliation, all communities should be able to protect their national religious and cultural identities. We must accept that their freedom as communities should also be protected. Their minds should be rid of fear, doubt and hatred. The people of this country choose a new government with the hope of creating a society where every community will live in harmony, where there won't be opportunity for another war. While the government is working towards achieving the people's aspiration and the government forces have begun destroying the peace between communities by orchestrating plans of extreme political hatred. Therefore, it is the responsibility of leaders of communities to instill faith among one another, preventing political extremists from achieving their targets.
අන්තවාදී බලවේගවලට ඉඩ නොදී සෑම කෙනෙක් තුල තිබී යුතු විශ්වාසය ඇති කරගෙන කටයුතු කිරීම.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe met world leaders and globally recognized businessmen today at the World Economic Forum's annual meeting in Davos, Switzerland. Nearly 40 countries are attending the summit, which will continue till Saturday. The World Economic Forum 2017, themed Responsive and Responsible Leadership, is committed to improving the state of the world by engaging leaders in business, politics and academics. The summit gathers annually in January with the participation of political leaders, selected intellectuals, and the world's top business leaders. Prime Minister Wickremesinghe met Joseph Stiglitz, former senior vice president of World Bank, a professor at Columbia University, and Nobel laureate. This year's summit focuses on 8 major themes, including terrorism and the migration crisis, market turmoil, climate change, Eurozone debt crisis, inequality in wealth distribution, medicine, cybercrime and civil liberties, and the relentless rise of automation. Meanwhile, according to a new report published by Oxfam to mark the Davos meeting, just 8 men own the same wealth as half the world population. Oxfam's report, An Economy for the 99%, published at the World Economic Forum, states that the wealth of these 8 men equal the wealth of 3.6 billion people who make up the poorest half of the world. The Oxfam report shows the widening gap between the rich and the poor is far greater than had been feared. It details how big businesses and the other super rich are fueling the inequality crisis by avoiding taxes, driving down wages, and using their power to influence politics. It calls for a fundamental change in the way economies are managed so that they work for all people and not just for a fortunate few. In its report, Oxfam called on business leaders to play their part in building a human economy, highlighting that the World Economic Forum can make a start by committing to pay their fair share of taxes. 6 out of the world's 8 richest men are from the United States. According to the Oxfam report, Microsoft founder Bill Gates holds the top position with a net worth of $75 billion, followed by Spanish founder of Inditex, Amancio Ortega, CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett, Mexican owner of Grupo Caso, Carlos Slimuelo, Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO and co-founder of Facebook, Larry Ellison, the CEO of Oracle, and Bloomberg founder Michael Bloomberg are the 8th richest. In other stories, the report of the Delimitation Committee was handed over to Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government Faiza Mustafa today. The report was handed over by the Delimitation Committee Chairman Asoka Piris. The long-awaited and heavily debated delimitation report was finally handed over to Minister Faiza Mustafa at the Ministry this afternoon.
Today, the Delimitation Appellate Committee handed over the report. We will take appropriate steps consequent to that to gazette it and hold the election as soon as possible. There are some technical amendments to be done in terms of the Act, and also the Honourable Prime Minister has called for a meeting with all political parties, as certain political parties has expressed grievances with regard to the Act, that they are greatly prejudiced by the Act in its present form. Therefore, Act number 22 of 2012 will take all steps to amend it if any court complains that injustice is done to them. Once again, I thank everybody for being patient. I or my ministry at no stage has delayed this. When 3 persons signed this report and handed over to me, I requested that the 2 other signatures being obtained. But today, I proved to the nation I was right. I got the Honourable Attorney General's opinion, who clearly stated that until I get the signatures of 5 of all members, or if there is a dissenting view, that dissenting view is sent to me in writing that I can't accept the report. Therefore, I have done just at that time of not accepting the report. And also, the media took a lot of interest with regard to the appellate process. But the report done earlier, which caused great injustice to everybody, nobody raised issues with regard to. But if the media had taken the same interest with regard to that report and condemned that report, we would have to face difficulties of the delay which we are facing now. Mama perapaw walta duk winda. Echcharai mata kiyanna thiyenne.
Leader of Pivithuru Helaurume, Udaya Gammanpilla, says that joint opposition will nominate a common candidate for the next presidential election. Gammanpilla made these comments during a media briefing in Colombo today.
We did not barge into the Prime Minister's office last night. They were patriotic men who risked their lives to get these documents for us. The Prime Minister's secretary had sent a letter to the Treasury Secretary. It says that the Chinese ambassador had asked for 15,000 acres of land from Hambantota to set up industries. It further goes on to say how they had already identified 70,000 acres for the purpose. Honorable Prime Minister, this is written evidence that 4 months ago, officials had identified 17,000 acres of land for the Chinese. There's another letter here. It talks about how they are going to sell the port. So the Chinese ambassador had chosen 2 companies to bargain the port deal. Through the Ports Authority 5-member committee report, it is evident that a bribe of at least $2 billion will be taken off the port deal. The sale of the port has become a state policy approved by the president. India does not talk about this. Why is that? India knows the whole story. These people thought that we will not object to China because China is our friend. India and America is watching patiently so that they could follow China's plans of destroying our country. If we let this country be led by the Sirisena Wickramasinghe government for another year, everything will be auctioned. So it is up to the public to pave the way for a new president and a prime minister. The joint opposition will present a common candidate for those who are against the government. Now you would ask who it is. He is a strong leader who has a strong personality. We will surely make him the winner and hand over the responsibility of this country to him.
Meanwhile, the Disaster Management Centre says over 485,000 people across several districts are affected island-wide due to the severe droughts in the country. However, the Meteorological Department predicts that some showers are possible after January. Meanwhile, water levels of the main reservoirs have dropped due to severe droughts reported across several districts. Paddy fields were seen devastated due to the dry weather. The Padaviya Lake, Nachaduwa and Rajangania Lake are severely affected due to the drought and are unable to supply adequate water for cultivations. Although water supply to cultivations have begun from the Parakramasamudra reservoir and the Minneria Lake, supply is limited. In other developments of the prevailing droughts in the country, as a result of the severe dry weather, certain coastal areas are experiencing salination of pipe-borne water. It is reported that water pumped from rivers near the coastal line is contaminated with seawater. For the past decade, people of the Kalutara district and other coastal areas are said to be facing this situation annually during the dry season.
Everyone in Kalutara district gets salty water. Every day we remind authorities about this issue, but they never pay heed.
Our children cannot go to school. We don't have proper drinking water and we are unable to drink tea. If we don't have food to eat, we need water to drink. We can't afford to purchase drinking water. A bottle of water costs around 80 rupees. We can't cook without proper water. All we get is salty water. We have to stop all our work and wait in the queues to collect fresh water.
Every month we pay for water contaminated by seawater. Why should we pay for salt? The problem we have is that they charge us for salt, and if we do not pay our water bills, they disconnect supply. We asked them years ago to take this water line to Horana. This problem could have been solved if they did that.
This water is too salty, like seawater. We can't do anything with this water. This child got sick drinking this water. Please give us a quick solution to this problem.
The salination of pipe-borne water during the dry season is not a new phenomenon. The question is why this issue has not been addressed to date. We contacted the Deputy Director of the Disaster Management Centre, Pradeep Kodipilli, to find out what measures have been taken to counter the situation.
Kalutara district, there are some salt water infusion being reported week before with the pipe water. So the water board is fully cooperated with the disaster management sector and providing of the drinking water at the moment to the vulnerable communities. So 117 call center numbers are completely open for all disaster management communication activities. If there is any gaps, so people can access the 24-hour basis to solve all these problems.
And more news comes your way after this break. Welcome back. Ministry of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources Development says Sri Lanka is only able to supply 1/3 of the international demand for fish and fisheries products. At the annual progress review meeting held at the ministry yesterday, it was revealed that Sri Lankan fisheries exports dropped by 2.6% in 2016 compared to the previous year. However, a higher export revenue was reported in 2016 compared to 2015, owing to higher demand in the international market for seafood such as crabs, prawns and lobsters. Meanwhile, during the 18-month period in which a ban on fisheries products to the European Union was in effect, Sri Lanka had lost 18 billion rupees. In a statement, Minister Mahinda Amravira added that steps taken to promote good governance has resulted in a better international image for Sri Lanka, which has directly assisted in lifting the ban on export of fish and fisheries products to the EU, as well as in obtaining the GSP Plus concession. The government refutes claims that it has agreed to conditions detrimental to the country to regain the European Union GSP Plus concessions. The government states that the GSP Plus concession was granted as an encouragement to its endeavours to establish good governance, sustainable development and for its efforts taken to promote and protect human rights. The Department of Government Information, issuing a statement, stated that there is no basis for news reports that alleged 58 such conditions detrimental to the country were agreed upon by the government in order to obtain the GSP Plus concession. Meanwhile, State Minister of Finance Lakshmanyapa Abeyewardena says that the government rejected certain proposals in the action plan handed over to Sri Lanka to acquire GSP Plus. He stated this addressing a media briefing held in Colombo today.
Some
undermine the government regaining the GSP Plus concession. It could be their political notion. To be honest, with GSP Plus, export revenue of the country will increase by $1.5 billion to $2 billion. Bangladesh is a leading economy because of the GSP Plus facility. 7,200 goods have the GSP concession. Some talk about conditions. There are no conditions. There's a convention action plan. This action plan will be amended. Clauses 6.1 to 8 will be completely removed. The president said that this cannot be implemented. It has suggestions about homosexuality. We have a culture, so we cannot have them in our country. We do not accept them. We can accept the rest. There are more things that can be done to establish democracy in this country. They have made certain suggestions and we will agree with them within our limits. No, there's no such thing. Certain things are not accepted even in Europe or France. Have they accepted homosexuality in Europe?
Colombo stocks plunged lower today for a second straight session. We now have the stock update with RM Sivananda.
The benchmark all-share price index lost 15.13 points to close at 6,186.52, while the S&P Sri Lanka 20 index lost 17.45 points to close at 3,491.34. The turnover was 510.73 million rupees with 9.99 million shares changing hands in 2,213 trades. The market capitalization at the end of the day was 2,727.01 billion rupees. Top 5 gainers of the day were SMB Leasing Non-Boating, SMB Leasing, Amana Takaful, Madalsima Plantations and Radiant Gems International. While the top 5 losers were Blue Diamonds Non-Boating, Bearwell Resorts, Kelsey Developments, Browns Capital and Lankem Developments. Today there was a crossing and the crossing turnover was 94 million rupees.
Let's now take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other currencies. And sports news comes your way after this short break. The The 17th edition of the International Tennis Tournament began yesterday in the city of Melbourne, Australia. After Britain's Andy Murray won his first Grand Slam match yesterday, it was Serena Williams who caught the attention of the audience today.
At the end of the second day of the Australian Open, Serena Williams launched her bid for her 23rd Grand Slam title with a win over Belinda Bencic. In the men's draw, Rafael Nadal easily avoided the embarrassment of a back-to-back first and beat Florian Mayer on the Rod Laver Arena. Yesterday, Andy Murray dug himself out of a number of holes before he was defeating Ilya Marchenko to reach the second round of the Australian Open. Elsewhere, Venus Williams survived a rocky start to reach the second round of her 17th Australian Open by winning against the Ukrainian Katarina Kozlova.
And World News is up next. After nearly 3 years of searching a 120,000 square kilometre underwater area in the Indian Ocean, the hunt for the missing Malaysian flight MH370 is set to end next week. The flight disappeared in March 2014 with 239 passengers and crew on board while flying from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing and has become one of the world's biggest aviation mysteries.
Families of the missing passengers of Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 were shocked after investigators announced to cancel the search at the end of the month. The joint investigation between Australia, China and Malaysia was called off this morning after scouring 46,000 square miles in the southern Indian Ocean. Last month, experts recommended to extend the search by 25,000 square kilometers, suspecting that the plane went down in an area farther in the north. Later, the Malaysian Transport Minister said the investigation will end after scanning the 120,000 square kilometer zone in the absence of a credible clue. During the entire search, a total of 33 pieces of wreckage suspected to be from the plane have been found, including parts of wings and the tail. Announcing the suspension, Australia, Malaysia and China said no new information has been discovered to determine the specific location of the aircraft, despite numerous studies. The three countries would meet before January 28 to decide on the next course of action.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Ask not what your country...
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again.
Republicans have taken the first step towards replacing President Barack Obama's health care program, Obamacare. President-elect Donald Trump, who is developing the new program, said that he will ensure health care for everyone.
In an interview, President-elect Donald Trump said he was ready to reveal a new bill with congressional leaders as soon as Tom Price gets confirmed as Health Secretary. Republicans in the House passed a budget measure which Democrats cannot block to roll back the Obamacare. The US Senate had already passed a measure which instructs 4 committees on Capitol Hill to draft repeal legislation by the 27th January. Trump ensured that there is going to be health care for everybody covered by the law and that his solution will be less expensive and much better. Democrats called the law a snowball of chaos and organized rallies all across the country to express their opposition.
Well, that's a look at the English news for tonight. Thank you for joining us. For the very latest 24 hours a day, just log on to www.adaderana.lk or like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. I'm Harshni Ranasinghe. Good night.
This is Ada Derana, and you're watching Ada Derana 24/7.